What is up, everyone? Greetings to our dearest listeners. I am your host, Ralph Justin Lenon, the human biology enjoyer from N03A, and welcome to Okie Dokie with Doc Lenony, where we talk about anything under the sun. Science, literature, medicine, and personal life advice. The one and only podcast that you will ever have to listen to because you name it, I've got it. Buckle up as I welcome you on today's episode. Our spotlight will feature the article entitled Importance of the Comparative Anatomy in Forensic Anthropology, a Case Report. This is a work of Da Silva, Mendez, Marino, Do Rosario Jr., and Guimares. Before I give my insights on the paper, let me brief you guys on what it is about, the rationale and the methodology so that we're all on the same page. Basically, it is a case report about an incident in the middle of 2005. Fragments of a skeleton were found at a desert place and would initially be of a missing person victim of homicide. 5 bone fragments, specifically 4 bones and 1 tooth, were found. In order to determine whether they were of human origin, wherein it belongs to the Homo sapiens species, a forensic examination was done by the Forensic Institute of Goiânia, specifically their section of the Forensic Anthropology and Forensic Dentistry. After thorough examination, different factors led to the conclusion that these skeleton fragments were not of human origin. Some of these factors include analysis of its morphology, its epiphysis, areas of muscle origin and insertion associated with their dimensions, and the lack of evident fusion points or growth centers between the epiphysis and the diaphysis. For the tooth, it did not have similar shape and dimensions with a human's permanent mandibular canine tooth. Having known that they were not of human origin, further inspection was conducted to determine the species that these skeleton fragments belong to. They were then referred to the Department of Morphology of the Federal University of Goiás. The pertinent findings of this article is that the skeleton fragments were found to be compatible with that of a medium-sized domestic dog, or Canis lupus familiaris, specifically their tibia and femur and their canine tooth. The rationale of the paper was to determine whether the skeleton fragments found in 2005 were of human or non-human origin. This was necessary to confirm whether the case was that of a missing person victim of homicide, like it was initially assumed. The methods performed include the forensic examination, determination of animal specimen through comparison, and comparison of the taxonomy classification among the domestic dog, gorillas, and chimpanzees and men. Now that you guys have an idea of what the paper is about, it's time for us to proceed to the next segment of the podcast which we all love, Done Detective Fresh Perspective Time. To give our insights on the paper, as a whole, it is a very interesting topic. Honestly, I was not aware that comparative anatomy has several uses even outside the field of academics. This paper shifted my perspective for the better. Diving to its technicalities, I am certain that many will agree about it being well written. The writing was formal and scientific, but it was relatively easy to follow or understand. Aside from this, the methodology consisted of techniques that yielded concrete, specific, and reliable results. The findings were very helpful and in line with the rationale of the paper. You know, guys, I am really glad that we go about the digesting of papers like this one because we get to absorb and learn a lot. This case report taught me the importance and relevance of comparative anatomy even beyond my program in human biology. Because of this article, I was able to understand that comparative anatomy has a use or forensic purpose which is vital in differentiating whether a biological evidence is of human or non-human origin. Like, just imagine how things would have turned out if we did not have comparative anatomy. In this case, the skeleton fragments would have been mistakenly labeled as human remains, and the case would proceed in the wrong direction. This can affect a lot in the family of the initially assumed missing victim, the credibility and correctness of the organizations in charge of the investigation, and of course, many more. To add, the article even emphasized this by stating that it is fundamental for the forensic anthropology experts to master the knowledge on human anatomy and have proper access to the departments of animal morphology or anatomy to investigate a certain species when necessary. In essence, this article tells us that comparative anatomy is not only useful in studying anatomy and physiology, in correlating and tracing evolution. This article is a reminder that it is essential even in other fields beyond our academic program, just like forensic anthropology. That wraps up our episode for today. Thank you for tuning in to Okie Dokie with Doc Lenony, where we talk about anything under the sun. The one and only podcast that you will ever have to listen to, because you name it, I've got it. This has been RJ Lenon, and may you have an okie dokie day ahead.